Little about me for the trolls out there that enjoy trying to discredit me or ask me about my credentials. Well, there's a lot of things that I don't have a conventional education in. One of them would be engineering. So I started working on cars in 2015 for the first time, and I bought my first tool set. That's it right there. And what I've been able to do with that is engineer things that have never existed before, like supercharger systems. And like right here, we're looking at a 2,000 horsepower Mustang. So this 2,000 horsepower Mustang features a lot of technology that you're not going to find anywhere. In fact, it's developed to be able to run rapeseed oil in the crankcase. So not only did I build the engine myself and have everything cryogenically treated to, improve the longevity of the engine, but I developed systems on it that are first time, and I'm also interested in green tech. So, that's an engine I built. It's a 2,000 horsepower plus. It can make more than that, maybe 2,200. But that's a 406 cubic inch engine using a Dart LS Next Pro block with Frankenstein M311 cylinder heads and custom cam I designed, and, turbos that I had modified. But, of interesting note on this particular combination would be these parts here. You see, what I'm using is a Tesla AC compressor to make ice water. Now, the ice water is running the air-to-water intercooler system to reduce the intake air temperatures down to whatever the water temperatures are. So that right there comes from a Pro Mod drag car, And so this car features traction control. It starts via a cell phone. And so I push a button on my cell phone, my car go-go gadget starts. But what it also does is it primes the oil. So I've got a 2 external pump system. And what that does is it prevents engine wear from startup, but it also enables me to control the oil pressure as the viscosity changes due to temperature, enabling rapeseed oil in the crankcase. Another thing I do to reduce the oxidation of a vegetable oil is this right here. So I use the ice water to pulse width modulate through this to control the engine coolant temperature. And the oil pan is fitted with a oil cooler. It's a CTSV pan that I had powder coated. And I can pulse width modulate the ice water using Tesla brushless pumps to regulate the oil temperature to prevent oxidation there. I also use that to control the transmission fluid temperatures with this cooler, and a standard cooler with a fan that goes under the back. So under the back of the car is a AC condenser with twin spall fans to put the heat out the back of the car. The car will have air conditioning. It has traction control by using the ABS sensor from a newer model Mustang right here to establish a wheel speed differential that I'll program into the computer so that I can floor the car and not worry about spinning it out. So I designed the turbo system to be able to access spark plugs, wires, and fit these giant turbos with twin 4-inch exhaust. And so twin 76 millimeter Garrett turbos, 50 millimeter blow-off valves, and everything engineered to not just fit the car, but to make maintenance on it a breeze. So I'll have air conditioning, a nice little radio, tint the windows out, and running green energy, like ethanol fuels. I have I have some engineering that I want to do to demonstrate that we can use algae to clean up the atmosphere. That algae fertilized by sewage will set the world free. Ethanol is the best fuel that we can use in cars because it's virtually pollution free. You can drink ethanol. We've been fermenting it, so using algae and yeast, we could really transform the world, freeing us from OPEC, for example. So my green car that makes 2,000 horsepower, I'm going to set it up to pass the California smog test and use it to tow things. And, I had other plans for the car too, but, a 2,000 horsepower car that I can let my mom drive with paddle shifters and all this tech in it in an 85 Mustang. How cool is that? And I was able to do that, since 2015. So I taught myself. So it's understandable why people would have a challenge recognizing somebody that can think. So when it comes to things like psychology, that's a whiz. So after all my breakdowns with narcissists, rather than be a victim and an online troll, I put my work into my own mind, broke apart my subconscious, unifying it with my conscious mind, discovering something fundamental. I discovered through the use of science and understanding the autonomic nervous system and how it forms automatic reactionary behaviors in animals, understanding the role of emotions in animal behavior, understanding how fear is prioritized and subordinates other emotions, and then there's a cognitive impairment necessary to, prevent animals from engaging in instinctive behavioral drives that would compete with their need to survive. The tunnel vision temporarily segregates the consciousness into two different domains, the momentary awareness, and then all the cognitive processes that are actively being generated but subordinated in a cognitive process of inhibition due to the efferent signals generated by the sympathetic nervous system. So understanding the complete physiology, understanding the anatomy of the brain, understanding brain development as it correlates to the physical development, as well as the psychological processes at different stages of human development, you could start to understand why the formation of narcissistic personality disorder occurs at an age pre-cognition, retaining the neural network of a baby in a caregiver relationship to the mother. That's where the narcissistic supply comes from. So, when people question me and want to devalue me, what it demonstrates is that they don't have the intellect to qualify me or disqualify me independently of having someone hold their hand or me demonstrating a certificate. But you see, where does all the knowledge come from? Where did Sigmund Freud generate his ideas? How did we come up with the light bulb or the field of study we call calculus? Where did Pythagoras get the theorem from? So, there are just people that you might have a difficult time understanding. And that's understandable if you did not have the expansive imagination that I do. Because let me give you a little secret. I don't think in words. I think in visual and expansive paradigms within an unlocked imagination that runs concurrently with my moment experience. When I designed and developed my supercharger system, including the most advanced physics that have ever been inducted into that type of design, it took me 5 minutes. Yeah. This is easy. This is basic compared to my hybrid systems, compared to the ecosystems that I'm going to develop. I've solved many engineering riddles. I've got school shooting alarm systems, and me rewriting the entire book of psychology was easy. I'm 27,000 words or maybe 30,000 into my first book. I put down 11,000 words in my first sitting. And so right now I'm submitting the book for review for people that are interested. I will be publishing a book that will actually include a transformational methodology that if you follow this, you will have an enlightenment experience. I've isolated the psychoneurological dynamics of repetitive reactionary behavior trapped within the sympathetic nervous system. And my methods have taken the transformation of landmark from days to minutes and taken the enlightenment of Buddhism from years or multiple lifetimes into one single session. By understanding meditative enlightenment from the standpoint of the autonomic nervous system, what we see is the parasympathetic activation causing the elimination of the segregated spaces of consciousness, something that you have happen in dreaming. And so rather than dreaming to unlock the consciousness, people in meditative enlightenment produce this expansive experience of consciousness, which I've discovered is merely a restoration, what we would call normal. And so I'm not smart, I'm normal. Well, everyone else is afflicted. So if you have fears of failure, fears of rejection, fears of abandonment anxiety or separation anxiety is the organizing principle of family units in nature. It's the emotional motivation for baby bears to follow their mother across a river. It's a temporary state that goes away on its own, that there is no reason for humans to have abandonment. So what evolutionary necessity would there be in fearing failure or, rejection? What would happen if a dog or an animal attempting to mate felt rejected and took off the next 5 years? They don't do that, do they? Do animals experience trauma? No, they lick their wounds. If a gazelle gets away from a cheetah, it doesn't get traumatized. it just rejoins the herd. And so human beings with trauma are living in repetitive reactionary dynamics that are brought into existence at 1 year old for narcissists or 5 years old for everyone else. The very first fight or flight causes a entrapment where the afferent and efferent signals are matched. And so it causes a permanent consciousness segregation that has not been found in the subjective philosophical field of psychology. Psychology that has been absent science or the inclusion of the Eastern philosophies and traditions that gave us access to the types of consciousness required for me to do that effortlessly, without any anxiety, stress, or confusion.